Olympic mega precinct tonight, the bold stadium plan, and it won't cost taxpayers a cent. A Brisbane unit turns crime scene, a man found dead inside. A queen of the racetrack dies, Black Caviar remembered as one of the greats. The grand parade returns to the Ekka, plus your guide to Super Saver Sunday. The southeast suburbs where rent prices are finally falling. And Core Runnings meets Queensland, the hunt for our next Winter Olympians.
This is 9 News Queensland with Mia Glover.
Good evening. It could be our biggest and boldest Olympic plan yet. A new $6 billion precinct is being proposed to solve Brisbane 2032's stadium woes. It wouldn't cost taxpayers a cent, but the state government isn't convinced.
Attention turning from the City of Light back to the River City and our 2032 Olympic plan.
What we want to suggest is there's a different way.
With waterfront views and the cityscape as a backdrop, there's a new stadium being proposed, this time for North Shore.
We think it's an opportunity to give a bit of tender living care to a side of the city that we've maybe neglected for the last 20 or 30 years.
A possible venue for athletics in 2032 and a new home for the Brisbane Lions. The 60,000-seat stadium would be privately funded and includes warm-up facilities, a 2,500-apartment athletes village, a hotel, aquatic centre and hospitality zone, designed by a collective of the world's top architectural firms behind some of the world's best stadiums.
In all of the stadiums that we've designed around the world, they've always been part of a much wider precinct, much wider master plan. Where we would need the support of the state is investing in that transport infrastructure.
The plan would be to have the stadium open by 2031, a year before we're set to host the Olympics. But for that to happen, work at this site would need to start in the next 2 years. But the proposal has been all but shut down by the state government.
One of the underlying principles between the state and Commonwealth governments and the IOC are that all venues should be publicly owned.
Adamant, the current plan to upgrade QSAC is the best way forward.
I think that the die has been set. Tenders are out as we speak, and so we want to move forward. We are going to have the best games ever.
Next Sides, 9 News.
Police have arrested a man over an alleged murder inside a Stones Corner apartment. Live now to Abby Gearin. Abby, good evening to you. Detectives believe the victim was killed following an altercation between the pair.
They do, Mia. This homicide investigation was launched early yesterday morning after a 61-year-old man was found dead inside that Vine Street unit by officers performing a welfare check. But they now believe that he may have been killed in a fight that unfolded there last Friday night. Detectives early this morning arrested a 40-year-old Sunshine Coast man over this alleged murder. They say that he and the victim knew each other, but a crime scene does remain at that Stones Corner apartment tonight as officers try to piece together all of the circumstances surrounding this incident. They are asking anyone who witnessed any suspicious behaviour at that complex to contact them. Mia, the accused man, he will face Maroochydore Magistrates Court on Monday.
Abby, thank you. A 4-year-old girl has been bitten by a dingo on Gari. She was with a group of people who were fishing on Orchard Beach at around midday when the dingo grabbed her around the chest area. A nearby doctor examined the child before she was airlifted to Hervey Bay Hospital in a stable condition, suffering scratches, bruising and a puncture wound. Queensland Parks and Wildlife Service rangers are now monitoring the dingo responsible. Black Caviar, one of the greatest racehorses in history, has died one day out from her 18th birthday. The champion mare captured the hearts of Australians by winning 25 races from 25 starts, including 15 Group 1s.
Her famous colours, pink with black dots, were known the world over.
The pride of Australia is the greatest show on earth.
And when Black Caviar kicked down the straight, no other horse on the planet had a chance of catching racing's greatest sprinter.
This is brutal power, wrapped in an an elegant machine.
She looks at the 30,000 strong crowd and says, geez, I'm good. No, I'm not good. I'm the best you've ever seen in the world.
The champion mare won 25 races from 25 starts, including one as a mum, building a legacy that would come to rival Far Laps.
She raced away. She's going to set a new Group 1 record in Australia. She's truly in a league of her own.
In all but 3 of those races, jockey Luke Nolan steered her home. But Black Caviar was Peter Moody's masterpiece. And today, the man who trained the legend confirmed the worst.
She's given us all wonderful memories and certainly things that we'll never forget.
Black Caviar gave birth to a foal this morning at the Scone Equestrian Centre in New South Wales. But the 17-year-old mare had been unwell for days and soon after lost blood flow to her front legs.
The only humane sort of action to take was to unfortunately put her to rest, and that decision, even though a very hard decision, I think was made in the best interests of a wonderful horse, and we want to remember her for what she was, not what she was going through.
Those good times started at Flemington.
But Flemington gates are back and Black Caviar jumped away well.
In April 2009, in her first race as a 2-year-old, Black Caviar blitzed the field by 5 lengths.
She's sprinting away for Jared Noski.
Over the next 4 years, she proved unstoppable, winning 21 races at home before flying to the UK to meet the Queen and narrowly scraped through at Royal Ascot in the Diamond Jubilee.
It's tight. Black Caviar and Moonlight Cloud in a photo.
Black Caviar returned home in 2013, crossing the line first at Flemington and Moonee Valley for a final time before a 25th at Randwick.
Stand by, they're off and racing.
The champion mare did not disappoint.
Black Caviar doesn't let us down.
In retirement, she mothered 9 foals. None have quite lived up to the legend that raked in almost $8 million in prize money.
My favourite moments were the 30 seconds I got with her. It was just me and her post-race. They were the ones I remember the most.
Black Caviar's ability to win on the track, second only to her ability to win the heart of a nation and the love of the family who trained her.
He was like a big, fat, quiet Labrador dog that would sleep on the doormat at the back door, and you know, my family and my daughters and my wife, she sort of grew up around us, and we probably had more special moments in that time with her than we actually did on the racetrack, and that's something that we will fondly remember away from the limelight.
Mark Santomartino, 9 News.
A growing number of Australians can't afford to pay their power bills. With a jump in those seeking hardship support, the new data has reignited a battle between the major parties over how to keep the lights on in the future.
It's the hip pocket pain Australians have been feeling for years, but now the pinch of rising power prices is only becoming worse.
There's nothing left in the tank, and people are really struggling to make payments for essential, in this case, essential electricity and gas bills.
More families are at breaking point. According to the latest data, the number of Australians accessing hardship support with Origin surged from 71,000 to 97,000 in the last financial year. AGL saw that number jump from 18,000 to more than 27,000, with the average debt more than $2,000.
Many people from all income brackets are faced with giving up something that in the past they would have been used to having.
We know Australians are doing it tough when it comes to cost of living.
Some relief already on the way, with the federal government's $300 energy rebates now being deducted from bills. But the opposition claims it's only a band-aid fix.
You don't solve the nation's problems by spending Australian taxpayers' money.
But the Coalition's long-term plan to bring down power prices with nuclear energy would rely on taxpayer funding, in stark contrast to Labor's renewables policy.
An all-renewables approach isn't working.
I'm not going to take lectures from the Coalition who have an absolute risky, unworkable plan for energy.
Claudia Vradoljak, 9 News.
2 people, including a 6-year-old girl, have been injured after an alleged turning incident on the Gold Coast last night. Police say a ute doing burnouts in Gilberton lost control, crashing into a white Ford Ranger, which then caught fire. The 29-year-old driver of the ute is facing a string of charges, including drunk driving and dangerous operation of a vehicle. There are fears the closure of a heritage-listed bridge that unlocks the southwestern suburbs will increase pressure on one of Brisbane's worst bottlenecks. Remedial works on the Walter Taylor Bridge will cost millions, despite calls for a new transport link to be built.
An 88-year-old bridge held up by cables, but soon it's the traffic that will be suspended.
And if we had more bridges going across the Brisbane River, it wouldn't be a problem.
Brisbane City Council closing the Walter Taylor Bridge between the 13th and 30th of September for urgent remediation work. But the 17-day shutdown will divert even more traffic onto the Centenary motorway, one of the city's worst bottlenecks.
That's a car park right now. If you're trying to get into the city, you've got to allow an extra 15, 20 minutes just to get onto the bridge.
Alternative routes are absolutely packed. The sat-nav never goes that way because they're always packed.
The construction works were outlined in Council's budget. However, residents say they're frustrated at the lack of consultation.
I think an ideal vehicle for that would have been the monthly booklet that comes out, which came out only last week from the Lord Mayor. Not a mention.
Hosting a community forum, local MP Mark Bailey called on Council to build an entirely new bridge, but doesn't believe the government needs to chip in.
Brisbane is a mega council. They're spending billions on the metro. They're currently finishing off a massive bridge from the CBD to Kangaroo Point. All my community wants to see is a replacement of an existing asset.
Brisbane City Council released a statement saying it continues to undertake regular maintenance works on the bridge. These works ensure its longevity, and we appreciate residents' understanding and patience.
Unfortunately, Brisbane's a wonderful city. We're divided by a river and there's not enough bridges.
Cam Inglis, 9 News.
Neo-Nazis have stormed a pro-refugee rally in Melbourne in support of 10,000 people rejected by the now-defunct fast-track visa process. The group disrupting what organisers say was meant to be a peaceful protest with chants in favour of white supremacy.
They're cowards and they are so cruel to even say that we're not welcome here.
The protest follows comments made earlier in the week by opposition leader Peter Dutton saying Australia should have a temporary ban on bringing people in from Gaza. Ukraine has destroyed a key bridge in Russia's Kursk region as forces continue their incursion into the country. It's believed its destruction will make civilian evacuations harder. US President Joe Biden says he's optimistic about a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, with talks to resume next week. The United States, Egypt and Qatar said discussions this week were constructive. Mr. Biden warning that no one in the region should take action to undermine this process. In a matter of days, Vice President Kamala Harris will be at the centre of her party's national convention, celebrated as the pick for the Democrats. But first came a big promise of tax relief for almost a third of the country's population.
In the battle for hearts and minds, Kamala Harris pitched to Americans' hip pocket.
When the middle class is strong, America is strong.
The Vice President's first major policy speech of the campaign, also a chance to try to relate to middle America.
I worked at McDonald's to earn spending money. Well, some of the people I worked with were raising families on that paycheck.
The Democratic pick for president vowed to tackle cost of living and price gouging. She pledged to give tax relief for 100 million Americans and offer a first home buyers grant.
That piece of her plan, I think, is likely to just drive prices up.
Kamala Harris's policy cell comes days before the Democratic National Convention as she tries to draw a contrast between herself and Donald Trump.
A Trump tax on gas, a Trump tax on food.
The former president shifted from this.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence.
To kitchen table talk.
Every single thing is up. Eggs up 48%, cookies up 27%.
Today, his pick for vice president fed into the economic debate.
Kamala Harris is making their job harder, and Donald Trump is going to make their lives easier.
But the Republican campaign is having poll problems. Now, plane problems too, after issues with Donald Trump's. Today, an emergency landing for J.D. Vance and Trump Force 2. Eventually, a safe departure and a hope the journey to the election is a little smoother. In the United States, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
In the air and on the ground, aviation enthusiasts have swarmed Surfers Paradise for the second day of the Pacific Air Show. There were tricks, tumbles and turbojets, drawing in spectators from all over the world.
Thousands of eyes glued to the sky. This sea of spectators had a front row seat to watch Air Force fighter jets in full force.
We have our roulettes, aerobatic display team. We have our Super Hornet, F-18 fighters, our F-35 Lightning II, our latest and greatest fighter.
Pilots with power and precision coming from across the globe to put on a show.
We brought this airplane here. We flew from Washington State on the West Coast to Hawaii, and then we flew from there to here and landed at the Gold Coast Airport a few days ago.
While the US Navy parachuters navigated some tricky conditions as they dropped in over Paradise.
The wind's something else over here on the east coast of Australia, but we were prepared for it. We knew what we were getting into, so we had a good jump.
The official airshow precinct is more than 500 metres longer than it was last year after the inaugural sellout event, making room for everyone from the young.
When we first came, there was like these aeroplanes making some foggy stuff,
to the centenarians who have seen it all.
My fella said to me, he said, "What did you do during the war?" I said, "I was a pilot."
The show continues tomorrow morning, where former Air Force members will be celebrated as part of Vietnam Veterans Day. Yasmin Bonnell, 9 News.
And it was an unseasonably warm one for the show, that is for sure. Let's bring in weather expert Luke Bradnam now. Lukey, good evening to you. You've brought Tahiti back with you. What's behind this August heat?
No complaints from me, Mia. It was a beautiful day across southeast Queensland. Our warmest day, in fact, in the city since April, all courtesy of these gusty northwesterly winds. Still quite strong here this evening in Surfers Paradise, pushing down that warm air. Have a look at these flyover temps from across the southeast. Temps 7 degrees above average in the city today, getting up to 29 degrees. We did crack 30 for Archerfield this afternoon, 1:30 the Savo, getting up to 30.5 degrees. 28 the top down here on the Gold Coast, and 29 for the Sunshine Coast. And cooler mornings around, courtesy of the fact that we have no cloud cover. 4 degrees we started at for Wellcamp Airport and Oakey this morning. It won't be quite as warm tomorrow, Mia. You won't need that aircon. I'll have all the details of how cool it'll get at your place. The full forecast coming up a little later.
Sounds good. We'll see you then. Thanks, Luke. Politician punch up, fist fly as Parliament descends into an all-out brawl. The Ekka Grand Parade returns, plus your guide to Super Saver Sunday. The world's most secretive state opening its doors to tourists. At the end of sport, the surprise southeast suburbs where rent prices are plummeting. It was fun in the sun at the Ekka today as families turned out to soak up the sunshine. The delayed Grand Parade wowed crowds with animals in the main arena, while others got their own kind of recognition.
It was Ekka's People's Day 3 days late.
Ekka!
Families flooded the showgrounds.
I'm doing some rides, the axe chopping, and some of the monster trucks.
Fancying some food.
I'm keen to go on some roller coasters and possibly get some ice cream.
And tasting the treats.
Very, very excited. First time ever for us.
Yeah, I think today will probably be the busiest. So, yeah, hopefully the lines won't be too long, but we'll see how we go.
The Grand Parade took centre stage at the arena after being delayed for the first time in 40 years due to rain. There were cattle champions.
His name is Thundercracker.
What are your tips and tricks for someone when you're leading a cow around the ring in the Grand Parade?
So hold their head up high, smile and have a good time.
Shaggy successes.
Well, I think she would like to be involved. They're just a beautiful hairy lawnmower.
Shetland ponies stealing the spotlight.
What's your favourite part about the parade?
Walking and not getting hot.
And hundreds of sheep on show. But the adjusted parade meant some animals did miss out, the fish getting their very own recognition, and in unique fashion.
It doesn't matter where I walk on the Ekka, people want to have a photo with the fish man.
This grand champion given its very own parade in the Fish Pavilion. Back in the main arena, Queensland's Butte Utes took to the track, showcasing revs and rims.
The weather is the best it's been here this week at the Ekka, and the crowds have turned out in response. Organisers are hoping for 50,000 people through the gates today, and the show's not over yet.
Tomorrow is Super Kids Sunday with 2-for-1 kids rides and 20% off kids tickets. And there's 3 free Bluey shows on the main stage.
It would be wonderful if we could get big crowds. I think the main thing is we just want people to enjoy Queensland.
Pat Heaney, 9 News.
A fistfight has broken out between politicians in Turkey's parliament. The brawl began when a member of an opposition party insulted a politician from the government. Dozens of lawmakers rushing towards the speaker's podium to trade blows, leaving 3 MPs injured. North Korea will reopen one of its cities to foreign tourists from December, almost 5 years since it closed its borders due to COVID. 2 China-based tour operators will be allowed to visit. The communist country only started to scale back COVID restrictions in the middle of last year. The hunt for our next Olympic stars. Tonight, the local athletes fighting to be part of Australia's very own attempt at a cool running-style Olympics bid. All the thrills and spills. Don't miss that special report coming up. An unfolding emergency. Anzac memorials destroyed as wildfires tear through the Gallipoli Peninsula. Next, waves of water crash through homes in a freak flood event. A new health warning for southeast parents. Plus, the funding boost helping struggling small business operators. Anzac war memorials have been damaged after wildfires tore through the Gallipoli Peninsula. While crews tonight have the upper hand, an emergency is now unfolding in a major Turkey city.
Turkey's third largest city under siege. Izmir, on the country's Aegean coast, is home to 4.5 million people. A blaze that broke out in the woods has now reached residential buildings. Parts of the city have been evacuated, homes have been lost. To the north, fire crews have the upper hand after a valiant battle to save Anzac graves and memorials on the Gallipoli Peninsula. Canterbury cemetery containing the graves of 20 New Zealand soldiers has been damaged, but it's still standing.
We'll be having conversations when the picture becomes clearer about the extent of the damage and what needs to be done to return that to an appropriate state.
The stone of remembrance, the headstones themselves, have not been damaged in any great way that we can see. Purposefully built by non-combustible materials to manage that risk.
Anzac Cove was spared, but it's clear how close the forest fires came. Relief too for the Lone Pine War Memorial, where more than 4,900 Australian and New Zealand servicemen are commemorated. The blaze forced the evacuation of staff from the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, who in a statement said the fires spread rapidly and several commemorative and operational sites have been affected. It was started by an electrical fault. We will be more careful from now on because we know how important these exceptional lands are, the director of Gallipoli Historical Site says. Tonight, the fire is under control, but conditions remain volatile and fire crews on high alert. In London, Jessica Mawood, 9 News.
Queensland's vaccination rates have fallen to alarming levels, with only 80% of children fully vaccinated in some regions. Experts warn that diseases like polio, tetanus and whooping cough could resurface if this trend continues. A new statewide immunisation strategy will be introduced later this year to encourage vaccine uptake. Small businesses are struggling to stay afloat, with almost half now forced to increase their prices in order to survive. For owners, it's taking a toll. The federal government now pouring in millions of dollars to fund free mental health support services.
Naturopath Emily Rose Yates has run her own business for 17 years, but in 2020 the pressure became too much.
I felt like overwhelmed. I'd just open my eyes and I'd feel this immense sense of overwhelm. Really starting to rethink everything.
Struggles in her personal life at the peak of the pandemic, on top of trying to keep her business afloat.
You are the accountant, the bookkeeper, the marketer, the leader, the practice manager, the naturopath. I'm all of the hats, so it's a heavy load.
And the 42-year-old mother isn't alone. Nearly 40% of small business owners experience mental health challenges.
They're in real strife. they're under enormous pressure.
Beyond Blue trying to fix that through a free 8-week therapy program.
The new Access for Small Business Owners service fills a absolutely critical gap in the system.
Since starting, it's helped more than 6,000 people across the country, and the results speak for themselves, 70% having fully recovered. And for every dollar spent, almost $2 has been created. Now the federal government is investing another $10.8 million to extend it to 2026, along with the National Debt Helplines.
We know that some small businesses are dealing with inflationary pressures at the moment, which is why we've got these two important programs being extended.
For Emily, it was the turning point, and now there's calls for the program to be made permanent.
It was really amazing timing because something was about to blow, was my feeling.
It's arguably the toughest operating environment in recent memory. We need to make sure that we're backing our small business owners.
Claudia Radoljak, 9 News.
What started as a trickle soon became a terrifying surge of water as flash flooding inundated homes in the US state of Utah. The torrent followed 2 days of intense thunderstorms which turned this skate park into a swimming pool. An American woman has been charged with trying to defraud Elvis Presley's family out of millions of dollars and the ownership of Graceland. 53-year-old Lisa Finley is accused of creating fake documents, claiming Lisa Marie Presley had pledged the property as collateral for an unpaid loan before her death last year. Still to come, boxes of raisins sent flying in a highway smash. On the job with a local charity, delivering millions of meals to struggling Queenslanders. The local athletes in a cool running style Olympics bid, plus Brisbane gym junkies break a world record. A big rig has slammed into a centre divider, spilling hundreds of boxes of raisins onto a California highway. Drivers were able to avoid the crash with no serious injuries reported. 6 lanes of traffic, though, were closed for the clean-up, resulting in a major traffic jam. More than 7.5 million tonnes of food is wasted each year in Australia, but charities are still struggling to feed families. That's including OzHarvest, which redistributes supermarket food waste to those in need, providing thousands of meals to Queenslanders each and every day.
Across Queensland, Woolworths distributes around 31 tonnes of food waste every day.
Our store teams work really hard to separate good food that is edible and provide to OzHarvest, and food that is inedible we provide to farmer partners, wildlife carers and into organic recycling.
Each week, OzHarvest receives more than 60,000 kilos of fresh produce from the supermarket giant and delivers it to more than 300 charities across the state.
Last financial year, OzHarvest Queensland delivered 6 million meals. This financial year, we have a target to deliver 8 million meals.
State Manager Michaela Windsor says demand has never been higher.
We've never seen food insecurity this challenging within the state.
We're definitely seeing an increase in families and people who probably didn't access food relief 6 months or 12 months ago.
Northside Connect in Nunda is just one of the many charities that receive the much-needed groceries.
We probably get between 100 to 200 kilos delivered and we can hand out up to 60 hampers a week with that.
Greatly appreciated, guys. Keep coming. We need your support.
Households generate the most food waste in Australia and on average throw out around 312 kilograms of food per person each year, and that can cost families up to $2,500.
Definitely food for thought.
Every $1 donated to OzHarvest Food Rescue means we can deliver 2 meals to someone in need.
Michelle Tapper, 9 News.
Brisbane set a world record today as thousands of gym junkies took on the Hyrox fitness race at the Convention and Exhibition Centre. The debut event saw competitors tackle an 8-round fitness circuit, also setting a new record for Hyrox's biggest ever turnout. They're a fit bunch, aren't they? Well, ahead in sport, a bitter blow for the Dolphins' finals hopes. Plus, who's the fastest in the NRL? The amazing foot race between the Hammer and Fox. And at the end of sport, the surprise suburbs where rent prices are dropping.
Well, we were told to brace for an early taste of spring. It was more like an early taste of summer today. Temps up over 30 degrees for parts of the southeast and still fairly balmy tonight. It's currently 24 degrees in the city, 23 here at Main Beach. Cooling off a little tomorrow, though. I'll have all the details of full weather wrap coming up soon.
The Dolphins are looking shaky as they walk the finals tightrope. A 20-point loss to the Bulldogs in Bundaberg, denting the Finns' top 8 aspirations in a match highlighted by a thrilling sprint-off between two of the NRL's fastest players.
Standing room only in Bundaberg for the Rum City's taste of NRL. Cody Nicarima's family there to celebrate his 200th game against one of the form teams of the competition.
Long ball, Croydon, Carrez for the corner.
The Bulldogs' other winger then set his sights on the try line.
Josh Adokar! Boy oh boy, the Fend! Chased by the hammer! One for the ages! Oh, that is sensational! They talk about a match race on grand final day, but you've just watched the preview.
Reid Marnie's attempt to go toe-to-toe with Tavita Pangai a more lopsided contest. The Dolphins landed a telling blow on the scoreboard before the Fox pounced again.
Now, look out! Adokar is onto it. Where's the hammer? No hammer in sight.
The Dogs 12 points ahead heading into half-time.
Sexton intercept! Oh, they're away.
Jake Avarillo's intercept try sorely needed. Felice Kafusi's timing just as impeccable. But a litany of basic errors from the Finns gave the Bulldogs too many opportunities.
This is a good side. This is top 4 stuff from Canterbury.
The 30-10 loss denting hopes of a maiden finals appearance for the Dolphins, who'll end the regular season against the Storm, Broncos and Knights. The Roosters avoided sliding down the ladder by raining tries on Parramatta during a 38-14 victory at a waterlogged Allianz Stadium.
I think some of these players could do with goggles. They're practically underwater every time they slide.
Shaun Johnson's farewell tour isn't going as planned, with his Warriors suffering a 24-10 defeat to the finals-bound Sea Eagles. Adam Jackson, 9 News.
A sense of nostalgia surrounds tonight's NRL encounter. The Rabbitohs taking on the Tigers at Campbelltown for the first time since 1999. Billy Slater will be commentating the historic clash. Billy, can the loyal locals inspire the Tigers to a win?
Well, it's been since June since the Tigers have tasted victory, and if they're going to do it, it'll be out at Campbelltown, a home of the West Magpies, which is a joint venture with the West Tigers. So they're very vocal out there, and I'm sure they'll be doing everything in their power to get their team home.
The Broncos have posted their second win of the NRLW season with a nail-biting 28-22 victory over the Raiders in Brisbane. Olympic Sevens gold medalist Stacey Walker brilliant in the air to score a double, while Julia Robinson posted 2 tries of her own.
They're not going to catch Julia Robinson. A double for this magnificent Broncos winger.
An even tighter matchup in Townsville, where the Cowboys' Kira Dibb kicked a field goal with 4 minutes to go to sink the Titans 11-10. In the AFL, the Suns have fizzled out in embarrassing fashion with their season on the line after trailing Melbourne by just 1 kick at half-time. Gold Coast only booted 2 majors for the rest of the match on the way to crashing to a 54-point thumping, while the Bombers fans are dealing with the pain of seeing Essendon miss out on finals yet again. A 98-59 loss to Sydney sealing the Bombers' fate, the victory wrapping up the minor premiership for the Swans. Queensland swimmer Jenna Jones has joined the Australian Paralympic squad for training camp in France. Jones made her Paralympic debut as a 15-year-old in Rio and is back in the green and gold after missing selection for the Tokyo Games.
This is almost like a redemption year. I really just want to put my foot out there, show the world that I do deserve to be here and that I can compete under pressure.
The first swimming events at the Paris Paralympics start in 12 days' time. A much improved round of 2 under has rocketed Australian Min Woo Lee up the leaderboard at the St Jude Championship. Lee is now tied for 33rd, but will need to finish at least 17th to qualify for the second week of playoffs. American Denny McCarthy and Olympic bronze medalist Hideki Matsuyama share the lead at 11 under. The new Premier League season has kicked off at Old Trafford, with Manchester conditions are making life extremely difficult for drivers at the Tasmania Super Sprint. One of the cars in the support category involved in a spectacular crash at the Hobart circuit. Fortunately, the driver walked away from the incident relatively unscathed. In the opening race of the supercars, Gold Coast-based driver Nick Percat narrowly held off Chaz Mostert to record his second win of the year. And Mia, the Wallabies versus Springboks tonight, something to look forward to. That'll be on 9Gem and, of course, ad-free on Stan Sport as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed for the Wallabies.
Hopefully they can go one better.
Yes, absolutely. Bronte, thanks, you.
Mia.
Well, Queensland tenants are seeing some relief as rents fall in over 230 Queensland suburbs in just 3 months, saving households more than $100 a week. PropTrack data revealing Dalby and Rosewood in the Ipswich region saw the largest drops, with asking rents falling by around 13%. But experts warn that rents over $500 a week are now the new average. Well, Cool Runnings meets Queensland in just 3 minutes inside the hunt for our next Winter Olympians. See if our local athletes have what it takes in the snow. That's moments away. It'll be a good one. But first, Luke's back with a quick check on the weather. And Lukey, it was great to see the sun out today and that warmth too. How have we got any rain on the way though?
Mia, not a cloud in the sky basically again tomorrow. That's the good news. A slight chance of some possible showers early next week though. I'll have all the details, the full weather app coming up next.
The 1993 hit comedy Cool Runnings, such a good movie, put the sport of bobsledding under the spotlight. But an ambitious group of Australians are aiming to outdo the Jamaicans. Yes, they're keen to prove they can push to the podium, eyeing off Winter Olympics glory.
Feel the rhythm! Feel the ride! Get on up! It's bobsled time! Cool Runnings!
If we learned anything from these guys, it's that no snow's no barrier to bobsledding.
Great. Very good.
So, with sunny Brisbane sweltering through a 28-degree August day, what better time to launch our own audacious Australian 2026 Winter Olympics bid?
We're 18 months out from Milan, so if you want to give it a go, then we're here, we're ready.
The Jamaicans weren't the only green and gold to debut at the 1988 Games. We did too. And while it's simply impossible to actually bobsled in Queensland, this weekend's recruitment events testing speed, strength and power to uncover the talent we can train up to take to the next Olympics in Italy.
If you think you're within this range of hitting these distances, times, etc., then you might be a shot at making the team.
The field's a mix of those who've never tried the sport and a few Aussies you may not have heard of already representing our nation internationally.
It was back in 2021. I was living in Canada and my rugby season had just finished. I was kind of looking for a different sport. I could feel my rugby career kind of winding down.
Solar technician Reece Peters spends every Australian summer training overseas before returning home during our winter to save money and do it all again. Those who make the cut here will head to Calgary in Canada for a training camp, putting their push skills to the test on the ice. For many, it'll be a make or break moment, the first time they sled in actual snow. Abby Guerin, 9 News.
I reckon I could give it a go. And Luke Bradnam could also give it a go. He is back with our full weather forecast. Hello, Lukey, again. We have a cooler day on the way tomorrow, not as warm today.
Yeah, no chance of snow, that's for sure. You won't be sledding tomorrow, but we'll still see those temperatures tomorrow above average, but certainly not as hot as what we saw today. It was very unseasonable with those temps pushing over 30 degrees for parts of the southeast. We will see some cooler mornings on the way, and the reason for that, no cloud cover at the moment, so no insulation whatsoever. Down into the single digits for some of us tomorrow morning, but warming up to another beautiful day. If you have a look at those temperatures today from around around the southeast. It was more summer-like than spring-like. We saw up over 30 degrees for Archerfield today, just after 1:30. 29 the top for the city, 29 the top for the Sunshine Coast, and down here on the Gold Coast, 28 degrees. Still up over 20 degrees for all of us across the southeast this evening. Tomorrow's weather map is a good one, not just for us in the southeast, but our entire state tomorrow, bathed in sunshine. It's going to be an awesome looking Sunday. We'll see some showers though for the southwest of Western Australia and also for the southeast of the nation. If you're heading interstate tomorrow, got shower or two on the way for Sydney, a possible shower for Melbourne and Canberra, partly cloudy day on the way for Adelaide, possible shower for Perth, and for you in Darwin, a sunny day, a top of 32 degrees. Now back home, sunny and light winds across the North Queensland coastline. It should be an awesome day offshore for the boaties. Up over 30 degrees for the Isa tomorrow, and temps in the high 20s for Longreach. Roma tomorrow, getting down to just 4 degrees. Through the Capricornia coast, it will be another great day. Light winds and tops up in the high 20s. And then through the Fraser coast, pretty much the same story. Those tops, though, in the mid-20s. Here in the southeast, another sunny day. We should barely see a cloud in the sky. As I said, a few degrees cooler for us, though. 24 the top tomorrow for the Sunshine Coast, and Ipswich topping out at 25. Toowoomba a top tomorrow of just 18 degrees, and here on the Gold Coast, 24. Those winds won't be quite as strong as what we saw today, so it should be a good day out on the bay. We'll see 10 to 15 knots from the west to begin with. They'll get up to 20 knots in the northern bay by the afternoon and seas around 1 metre. For the city, a sunny day, heading for a top of 24 and dropping down tonight to 13, which is around average. And then looking ahead, partly cloudy for our Monday. Could see a shower or two on Tuesday and partly cloudy for Wednesday. For Ipswich, partly cloudy for Monday, a top of 24. Shower or two possible on Tuesday. Thursday next week, she warms up, a top of 28 degrees. And here on the Gold Coast, a shower or two for Monday and Tuesday. A partly cloudy Wednesday to look forward to, and Thursday reaching 26. And for the sunny coast, pretty much the same story. Possible shower Monday and Tuesday. 24 the top for Wednesday and 25 next Thursday. Let's have a look at the beaches for tomorrow. Well, you were pretty hard-pressed to find a car park anywhere near the beach this morning, and here's why. Have a look at it. Absolutely beautiful down here on the Gold Coast. Barely a cloud in the sky. Not a breath of breeze to begin with, but then those northerlies kicked in from around mid-morning, made it pretty ordinary on the open beaches. In fact, pretty ordinary even down here at Burleigh Heads. This is the best we can find for you. You can see the swell dropped off significantly from what we saw yesterday. It'll be smaller again tomorrow, but the good news is offshore winds pretty much all day. So hit the open beaches up on the sunny coast and down here on the Gold Coast. Just bust out a board that's got plenty of volume. It's not exactly going to be pumping. For a family day down the beach, should be beautiful. Any of the beaches you go to around southeast Queensland. Water temp's nice too, up around 22 degrees. Just make sure you slip, slop, slap. Offshore for the boaties, not a lot of fun right offshore. We'll see seas getting up to around 2 metres, but hug the coastline and you'll have pristine conditions, and the snapper closure is over. And the boys off Keely Rose Charters at Rainbow Beach getting amongst the action. Great stuff. Probably the busiest beach day I've seen down here on the Gold Coast today with the air show, Mia. Just bear in mind if you're coming down tomorrow, a few beach closures around Surfers Paradise.
Great, thanks Lukey. Well, before we go, here's Dimity Clancy with a look at what's coming up on this week's 60 Minutes.
Thanks, Mia. Tomorrow night, the home that grows before your eyes.
It's actually quite mesmerising to watch.
Cheaper and faster than normal building.
You're sitting on a gold mine?
Is it the ingenious answer to the housing crisis?
Demand has never been so great. The supply has never been so little.
Plus, has the master of mouthing off...
Oh, give me a break.
Is he a bully?
Yes.
Finally gone too far?
Donald said let him die and move to Florida.
That's tomorrow night after the block. Back to you, Mia.
Thanks, Dimity. See you then. That's 9 News Queensland for your Saturday. Thank you so much for your company. I'm Mia Glover. Good night.